Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our publishing and coaching services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Noah Wieder, author of The Amazing Money Machine. Noah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul.
Are you ready to get started?
I am.
All right, question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Just one piece, huh? Yeah, that's tough. I would say don't be afraid to outsource some of the steps. And I don't know if that's the only piece, but I would also say one of the most important things is to make a plan or a strategy. I outsourced the table of contents and a bunch of other stuff after I did all my recordings and had them transcribed. So, you know, the first-time author that I spent a lot of time trying to figure out all the different things and what I needed to do, and creating that plan and that strategy, or just whiteboarding it even, made it a lot clearer in my head. So that's what I would tell everybody. Just make sure you don't just wing it.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. So I'm also a huge believer in outsourcing, especially the editing. I always talk about you have three pillars of a book. You have the great looking cover that has, strong title, strong subtitle, great imagery, and then you have a compelling book description that helps sell the book, but then you also have a well-edited book, and you just can't edit a book by yourself. You got to outsource that. And you have those three pillars, then you're definitely in good shape for the future. And the same thing with having, systems and processes. It really does make a huge difference to have a plan. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least have a plan going in.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you can't just go from knowledge to execution. You got to have a plan first.
Absolutely. Well, what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Hardest part about getting published? For me, I self-published on Amazon and CreateSpace, but I would say the hardest part of learning that was really the formatting, or even what size to format, because there's so many different options. So, figuring out from my book what the right format size was, and whether I'm going to do paperback or hardcover or electronic Kindle only, and make sure that it was formatted properly so that it was easy for the reader to go through it. Also to make sure the online category that you're putting it in Amazon, there's just, I don't know if they're all hard parts, because I was a first-time author. So there's probably, I spent hundreds of hours trying to figure all this stuff out. So, looking at different courses and buying this course or that course. So, that's what I would say is, the hardest part was kind of just wrapping my arms around the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a process.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, it completely. Because prior to the podcast, we were talking about that journey, and I was mentioning the same thing. I literally spent hundreds of hours during that month of July back in 2015 of my first book, just learning all these different things and category research. Talking about that, making sure it's formatted correctly and edited, and then learn about the marketing. And there's just so many different things, especially when it's your first book.
Right. I mean, my background is marketing, so that's probably why the marketing piece wasn't the hardest for me. But I would imagine if you're not really a marketer, that's got to be one of the toughest things for people. I really built the book, and I'll talk. I could talk about it forever, but the books are really good tripwires or lead magnets. So that was really my driving motivation to get a book out. I realized that I was repeating myself constantly for people that were calling me about the information in my book, because it has to do with my business. So instead of just putting it all out there, I just recorded all those conversations with people and had it transcribed, and then, you know, turned that into a book. And that's where the outsources from my previous question, from your previous question, come in. So it definitely is important to get help, because doing it by myself, it takes a long time.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy
Sure.
that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Well, here's a couple of strategies. Like I said, I used my book as a tripwire, and tripwire is usually something that people pay a little bit for to make sure that they are interested in that business or that service or that product or whatever it is you have. And ours is a service where we teach people how to run the ATM business. So there's a lot of courses out there, and there's a lot of misinformation, but there wasn't, and there's a lot of, I wouldn't even call them books. I would call them pamphlets from our competitors, and they sell them for outrageous prices, and I was just so tired of all of that. So I put all my information into this book, and what I ended up doing is I took an excerpt of the book, and I put it on academia.edu. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that site, but it has really good reach, and people search through it for other ideas. So I put a couple of chapters out there and created a PDF with a read more and then a link back to the Amazon page. But I also created a summary, and I turned that into a PDF lead magnet instead of a tripwire on my website, where a lead magnet is more something you give away on your website for the person's email address, and then you can put them into a funnel. So I basically boiled a few of the chapters down into a 7 or 8 page PDF, and then we split tested how that PDF did. And really, online, odd numbers seem to work better. So we started with 7 pages, and then we went to 9, and then we went to 13, and then we just kept playing around with the number to see what the magic number is, like how many people would download our book. And we ended up with 17 pages was the right number. And I didn't rewrite it all the time. I just changed the font size and the spacing to make the pages the right count to do the split testing, so we didn't have to rewrite everything, because that just takes too much time when you're testing different marketing tactics. So, and a tripwire is something that you use, a lead magnet is something that you use to give away, where a tripwire is something you sell for a small fee. So we start with the tripwire, God, I always do that. We start with the lead magnet, and then we go and put them in a marketing funnel to the tripwire, which is the book. And then from our tripwire, we try and get them into our membership site or end the business. Just depends upon how interested, whether they're tire kickers, information seekers, or actually entrepreneurs that want to do the business.
So essentially what you did was you created a summary of the book to the lead magnet, which you stretched out to about 17 pages by adjusting the fonts and also the writing there and everything. You then utilized the book as a tripwire, and then you utilized the book to sell the course. Is that correct?
Correct.
That is a very fundamental strategy. I'm really glad that you shared that with us, and I love the idea of actually just creating a summary of your book into a lead magnet. It's a great idea.
Yeah, and believe it or not, we give away some of that. We don't give away the full version, but we do give away some of that on Academia just to pique their interest. So, we do that in a couple of different places. We probably have the most popular Facebook group for that kind of business as well. So we don't really promote the book, but we say, hey, if you want even more information, here's our PDF, and then it gets them into the funnel for the book. But some people, it's been amazing. The Facebook group, people have been buying the book, and then they post like, hey, look what just came in the mail, and and then they start talking about the book, and sales go through the roof when that stuff takes off.
Now, this Facebook group, is this one that you created for your company or for your book, or is this one that was already established?
It's actually one we specifically created for our company, but we didn't we sponsored it. Our company sponsored a general group. It's called ATM Entrepreneurs, and it's just anybody that owns or operates an ATM as a business can join the group and chime in and help other people. So we don't do a lot of promotion, but we offer advice. And you know, when you offer free advice and you're friendly, people want to do business with you. So that's kind of the strategy. We're not pushy. We only want to do business with people that want to do business with us. So
yeah, that's a great approach. And of course, I also call it the KLT principle: know, like, and trust. Right?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So, what is your favorite book, and what was the #1 thing that you learned from it?
Well, my favorite book has to be my own, doesn't it?
That's up to you on that one.
No. I have several, but they're mostly business books. You know, I like the book Bold. I don't know if you're familiar with that, and the lesson about Kodak not realizing that they were in the memory preservation business and not really the film or photo processing business. I mean, I don't know if you know that story, but Kodak invented the digital camera way back before anybody. It was like a 0.2 megapixel or 0.002. It was crazy, and they buried it because they thought it would put them out of business. And had they realized that they were in the memory preservation business instead, they would have probably been king of the digital cameras. But the book I'm reading right now is called What Matters Most. I don't know if you know John Doerr. It's just a bestseller, but it's all about OKRs, objectives and key results, instead of goals. So, you know, my takeaway is, because I think the key to success with anything is measuring results and doing what you can to going back to the plan and measuring the steps in the execution of that plan to make sure that it's reaching your objectives. And I used to call them goals until I read this book. So I think it's probably my favorite because it's the one I'm almost finished with, and it's fresh in my mind, and it got me excited. So
yeah, I think that's a great choice. And I love the story about Kodak too, because you're absolutely right. The biggest mistake that they made was realizing that it was about preservation. And the fact that they had they could have done for digital cameras what the iPhone has done for phones, but they just totally missed the opportunity.
Absolutely. No question. Yep. It gives me chills when I read and when I think about the opportunity that they lost there.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, Apple's now a $1 trillion company, and Kodak, I feel, could have done something very similar.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
Well, Noah, for our final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
Well, I don't really have one favorite quote, but I like to live by a quote that what gets measured gets done, like I said before, which is why I'm enjoying the book I'm reading right now. But the other quote is plan your work and work your plan. And there's a lot of quotes out there, but those always ring true for me, especially when I'm in the business world, because when you're preparing for a book launch, especially, you got to have that plan. You know, like I said, I read and watched a few courses on self-publishing and created a launch plan so that I could hit Amazon bestseller list in a specific category in the first few weeks, because there's no way to do that without a plan. You need a course, or you need help, or you need somebody that's done it already to kind of be your wingman. Instead of winging it, you have a wingman, I guess you could say. So, you know, it's So, yeah, that would be my favorite quote. I think plan your work and work your plan, because I say it all the time to my employees as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm all about systems and processes, and fortunately I have that opportunity to be a guide for people that are looking to get published or looking to help to have that coaching. And that's always one thing I say, you know, my role is to be your guide, and that is the main thing, and having that person can definitely make all the difference. Well, Noah, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Well, I'm pretty easy to find online since I'm a marketer and my name's not that common. If you just Google my name, Noah Wieder, and it's Wieder, the I is before the E, and it's pronounced Wieder. And if you just Google Noah Wieder, I'm probably the first 3 pages of Google. But all my contact information can be found on about.me/Noah.Wieder, Wieder.
Well, Noah, thank you again for being a guest on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate being on the show.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.